These are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone. My name is Tracy Fitzpatrick and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Netcom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We're very excited to host today's technical webinar, Understanding the Windows Server Administration Fundamentals, Part 2. And presenting today's topic is Magdi Siffin. Magdi is a chief engineer, an information technology professional, and network security consultant with 20 years of experience in IT operations and 14 years as an IT technical trainer and learning consultant. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored towards your specific requirements. If you are interested in further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you will get free access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. Netcom Learning is an award-winning global leader in managed learning services, training, and talent development. We offer over 2,000 IT, business, and soft skill courses available to organizations around the world, encompassing all your technology and business training needs. Netcom Learning is the most trusted name in both business and IT training and offers top-notch instructors and vendor-approved coursework offering certification preparation for a variety of vendor certifications. So, why should you attend this webinar? Windows Server Administration is an advanced computer networking topic that includes server installation and configuration, server roles, storage, Active Directory and group policy, file, print, and web services, as well as remote access, virtualization, application servers, troubleshooting, performance, and reliability. With this webinar, explore the key fundamentals of the Windows Server Administration. And now I'll give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To start with, you do have the option to adjust the window size to your liking. Simply hit the Escape key and find the Zoom button on the top left corner of your GoToWebinar viewer. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Please feel free to submit any questions that you do have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. A PDF copy of today's slides are also in the handout section of your GoToWebinar viewer. And in just a few moments, I'm going to be passing it off to Magdi, who will be presenting today's topic. Magdi, go ahead. You are live.
Thank you, Tracy. Today's agenda is storage, theology, hard disk management, file systems, troubleshooting methodology, server secure boot process, system configurations, system monitoring, high availability and fault tolerance, backup, and finally, we are having time for your questions and answer that I'm going to be answering them gladly. Today's webinar is directed to and dedicated to server technicians and those who want to advance forward with their certification after being or earning their network and A+ certifications, or Microsoft Networking Fundamentals with the MTA certification exam 98-366, and then they will be preparing for their Server Plus certification exam SK0-004 or Microsoft Technology Associate exam 98-365. Storage technology, and they are very important topic that we must know as server technician and systems engineer. Today's hard disk drive, they are either integrated drives, electronics, IDE or serial ATA, SATA, which is SATA, or small computer system interface, SCSI, pronounced SCSI, as they are saying in the everyday and during the market day or during the everyday work. If you see the SI, it's SCSI drives. Although those drives required to be installed by a Windows server either locally or remotely, if you are going to be attaching a hard disk block, or what we are calling storage, attach it to the network, which is SAN, storage area network, or network attached storage, which is NAS. Keep those names in your mind. If you are in the IT industry, you were hearing them, you were dealing with them every day on a daily basis. Simple servers usually have their hard disk drive and the storage attached to the server locally, while the big server in the enterprise environment, we need more storage. Storage is the most expensive and the most paid for the server construction data center. So what we are saying, you are going to troubleshoot those hard disk drive and design solutions based on those technologies. First thing you need to know is something called RAID. What is RAID? A RAID is a redundant array of independent disks. We call it RAID. It uses 2 or more hard disk drives connected together to allow fault tolerance for the system and protect data against the loss. What can cause loss? A logical error, human error, physical error, or even electric error. The most basic types of RAIDs are RAID 0. One of the most basic and fundamental type of RAID, it's RAID 0. RAID 0 strips the data across the hard disk drives. For example, if you have a file, it divides the file across the drives. Regarding the numbers of the drive, it is the number of the strips of the data across the drives. RAID 0, with doing that, it doesn't provide fault tolerance, but it provides speed. Usually, RAID 0 used plus another type of RAID to provide both of the speed and fault tolerance. RAID 1. RAID 1, sometimes known as disk mirror, and you keep that in mind. If you want to have fault tolerance and fully fault tolerance, use RAID 1. RAID 1 mirrors the data across the hard disk drive. It means if you have a file here on the block 1, you will find another copy of the file on block 2. What that means? It means it double the size of the file and it uses half of the storage at the same time. Disk mirror copy the disk partition into the second hard disk drive. As the information written on one of the disks, it's written on the same on the other disk on the same time. If one of the hard disk drive failed, if one of the blocks failed, it will be directly, the file will be directly replaced or get written to the other drive. It's already written there, but the access will be to the other drive. The user will not feel that it will happen in a fraction of a second, and the user will be continue to work without knowing what's going on the back end until the server technician take an action and replace the failed block or the failed hard disk drive. RAID 5. RAID 5 is using something called Parity. A parity is a data lead. It means it's an indexing the information for the file written across the blocks. A parity also can save the data if one of the blocks failed because it contains the data of each block. It has index for the data written on each block. Parity is using file stripping. It provides fault tolerance and increased performance. That's why RAID 5, it is a modified type of RAID 1. Just by adding the parity to the blocks and to each drive, now there is a fault tolerance available, and also a speed is used for dividing and stripping the data across the drives. A RAID hotspot is a solution used by any server technician and system engineer when they are designing the RAID array. A hotspot, a hot spare, is a hot standby hard disk drive. It is, as much as it sounds, it is a standby hard disk drive. For any hard disk drive in the array to be failed, then this hard disk drive is automatically be used instead of the failed hard disk drive. A network attached storage is another type of non-locally connected storage. It is not connected locally to the hard disk drive. Those hard disk drives are not connected to the server. It is connected to the network. The network attached storage, as we call it NAS, is a file-level data storage device. It is connected to the computer network, and it's used whenever any server technician will be using a network attached storage. They must know that they are going to be using server message block protocol, SMP, and common internet file system, CIFS. Those protocols go hand in hand when you are designing your network attached storage. The NAS device usually contains multiple hard disk drives in a form of a RAID array to provide fault tolerance, and also it is managed using a web interface. What you are seeing in front of you right now is a web interface store NAS 1600S. It is also ran by a CPU, which is Xeon processor, E5 2403. Speed of the processor is 1.8 gigahertz, and the memory available for that controller of the NAS is 32 gigs. Also, you can see the controllers here. In the hardware status, you can see the RAID, if it's up and running, the CPU is up and running, the disk is up and running, the cooling system that includes fans is up and running, it's powered on, and the temperature is within the acceptable limits. This is a web interface, and you can manage the server, the storage connected to the network or the NAS through it. It has a storage manager, the service manager, and the account manager. You can add administrators or remove administrators to that interface. And also it has a backup manager, that type of software that can back up your NAS. SAN storage, storage area network. A storage area network is an architecture used for the disk arrays, tab libraries, and also Azure boxes that can write optical drives and whatever with the 125 gigs of data to one disk. SAN always use RAID array. The difference between the SAN and the NAS that it used Iscuzzy protocol and Fibre protocol. It also used Fibre Channel interface. A Fibre Channel provides data transfer via light pulses. It is not an electric pulses. It is light pulses. It's much, much faster than the electric pulses. A Fibre Channel or an optic fiber cabling, it became very famous in the last 2 decades. It used fiber channel and light pulses to travel across them. The Fibre Channel, or the FC, is a gigabit speed technology. It's used for huge storage and to transfer huge data. It also uses a Fibre Channel protocol while it transfers those data through the network. The difference between the Fibre Channel and the Iscuzzy is the speed. While the Fibre Channel is recommended for the most of the data, the infrastructure of the most of the network are usually using the electric pulses, so they are using the Iscuzzy. But the Fibre Channel can use Iscuzzy commands in order to manage the storage and the data transfer. As I referred to the Iscuzzy when we started this webinar, it's called Internet Small Computing System Interface, or Iscuzzy. It is an Internet Protocol or IP-based storage. And to link data between the storage facility and computer or server. Iscuzzy allows the clients to send commands over the TCP IP over the switch in the middle, and it uses 3260. So whenever you are hearing Iscuzzy while you are working in the field, you will know exactly that port 3260 must be open on your Ethernet switch, or your Iscuzzy will not be connected to the network. Similar to the fiber channel, Iscuzzy can be used as a gigabit transfer, data transfer, and can connect multiple SANs over the network. For any hard disk drive connected to the Iscuzzy unit, it must have a network adapter dedicated to the Iscuzzy, and that network adapter connected to the Iscuzzy storage and from one interface, and from the other interface connected to the Ethernet switch. To wrap it up, Iscuzzy SAN environment must have port 3260 enabled on your switch and in your firewall as well. It's connected through an Ethernet switch. It uses normal network technology to communicate with the network adapter, and that network adapter must be dedicated to the Iscuzzy storage. In Windows Server, we have a technology that was lately adapted by Microsoft and enabled in all the server platform that released by Microsoft. It's called Iscuzzy Initiator. Iscuzzy Initiator is a tool that enables the server that attach it to an IP network to initiate a request and receive responses from an Iscuzzy target, or what we are calling an Iscuzzy storage. The SAN component in Microsoft Iscuzzy Initiator are largely connected mostly to a Fibre Channel SAN component, and they are including lots of options in order to manage your storage. You can find the targets, you can discover where are the targets, you can favorite them, you can assign the volumes and the devices. If you are connected through a radius server, that's going to be also mentioned in your Iscuzzy Initiator. The configuration for each target can be also managed through Iscuzzy Initiator. The volumes of the hard disk drive are presented as blocks. They are largely used in other Microsoft products. For example, the data server SQL or Microsoft Exchange, which is a mail server. And you can imagine that service provided by the Iscuzzy Initiator on Windows Server, and it's serving your Hotmail account, for example, because Hotmail is an Exchange server. From the Storage Explorer, you can explore your storage. That's starting from Windows Server 2008 and later version. They included Storage Explorer and Storage Manager for the SAN to manage Fibre Channel and Iscuzzy fabrics. Storage Explorer allows us to view, manage fiber channels, and Iscuzzy fabrics. It also can manage that through the IP address or the fully qualified domain name, which is provided by the DNS server. And you can see here the name is a fully qualified domain name. Storage Explorer can display the full details about each single SAN and the component of the fabric, such as the Hotspot adapter, the fiber channels, and the switches. So you can see here on the left band the fiber channel fabrics and the Iscuzzy fabrics. Also each server connected to that storage. Here that's a local host, but also it can be used for a remote host. Let's move to the hard disk management tool. A hard disk management tool for Windows Server, you can get that from the Server Manager. For your local computer PC, you can get that from your computer management, and then you can go to the computer management, which is locally. Here, through the Server Manager, you can manage also the SANs and the backup jobs for the server, and also the disk management. Through the storage management, you can see if the hard disk drive is connected dynamically, if it's basic hard disk drive. Dynamic hard disk drive usually can be expanded according to the data usage of the hard disk partition. While the basic hard disk drive, they are having fixed sizes. The main options of the disk management, you can get that through the MMC or Microsoft Management Console. It's a snap-in, and you can reach that also through the Server Manager. You can also use the hard disk management to initiate and initialize disks, create symbol volumes, formatting drives, convert basic disks to dynamic disks, assign drive letters and paths, and expand volumes if needed. What are the file systems that can Windows Server manage or recognize and access data through them? The file system is a method to store and organize data. It is also contained an easy access to those data. It maintains those data in a physical location, either local hard disk drive or remote storage like the SAN or the NAS. We have in Microsoft technology 3 main file systems. You are most likely going to encounter at least one while you are working as a PC technician. While working as a server technician, you may or may not encounter the 3 of them. We have FAT16, FAT32, and TFS FAT file system. While NTFS is most likely used on the server right now, but if you are virtualizing an older operating system like Windows 9X 95, Millennium, 98, and even 2000 XP, you might encounter FAT32 or FAT16. As a quick comparison between the three, the feature of each one is illustrated in the table in front of us. The file name length is allowed for FAT16 from 1 character to 8 character, while for FAT32 it expands from 1 character to 255 character, and same for the NTFS. While file extension for FAT16 is 3, and you can imagine while we are still having the exe file with the extension exe, which only 3 letters. For FAT32, it is expanded to 255 characters, and same for the NTFS. Max file size for FAT16 will be 2 gigabytes. FAT32 will be double of that, so it's going to be 4 gigabytes. And for the NTFS, it is only limited by the volume size that contain that file size. So if you are having a file size, for example, that 1 terabyte, if you have a volume that is 2 terabyte or 1.5 terabytes, it can be hosted on that hard disk drive of volume. The max volume size that can be recognized by FAT16 is 2 gigabytes, while in FAT32 it is 32 gigabytes. In NTFS, for a single hard disk drive, the max volume will be 2 terabytes. It means if you have a hard disk drive that is 4 terabytes of size, and you are formatting that hard disk drive into NTFS file system, the operating system will only recognize 2 terabytes of it. That's locally. It's different than if you are having a SAN or a NAS, which is not local to the server. The max files per volume for FAT16 is 6,500. For FAT32, theoretically unlimited, and for FAT NTFS, it is unlimited too. Most likely, you will find FAT16 used in DOS, Windows 3. Whatever 4 or 4.1, and 95. FAT32 most likely be used in Windows 9X and Windows Millennium. FAT NTFS or NTFS file system or network file system is used starting from Windows NT 2000 XP, and of course later on versions of Windows. FAT16 and FAT32, both of them doesn't have security. So you don't have file security on those type of file system. On NTFS, you have security. You cannot encrypt FAT16 and FAT32 hard disk drives or volumes, while you can do that easily on the NTFS. For your troubleshooting for servers and computers, you must follow steps, and those steps we call them textbook for any server technician, for any field technician, for any IT, for any system administrator, systems engineer. Doesn't matter the title, you will be following these steps, and they are your Bible to follow on each troubleshooting for any issue on your network or your PC. Number one, you will have to discover the problem. See what's going on. What are the symptoms of the errors? You will have to evaluate the system configuration when it comes to your hardware and what's connected to the system directly or indirectly. That can be your, for example, faraway SAN or NAS partition, your connected local hard disk drive, or your connected CPU or RAM, maybe the motherboard, maybe even the power supply. So you have to evaluate each one of those. You have to list and track the solutions that might be used to solve your problems. Always try to disable and enable one component at a time, either it's software or hardware component. Test your solution and according to a plan. Check your results after each step. After that, you take the proactive approach, and finally document your solution for your coworkers and your teammates to take a look at them, and maybe if they are going to encounter one of those problems, they can solve it in the future. What are the tools that Microsoft has given us to solve those issues? As a computer technician or a server administrator, you will eventually deal with those problems and try to solve them. That can be easy for you if you know what's in your toolbox. Many of the problems need to be figured out and through a troubleshooting methodology that we discussed in the previous slides, but also through those tools that has given to you, and they are built in your operating systems, the server operating systems. You can always troubleshoot your server problems. You have the device manager, system information, event viewer, task manager, resource monitor, performance monitor, system configuration. You can also run a basic diagnostics for your memory. You also can have the troubleshooting wizard, the boot menu that included the safe mode, so you can log locally to your server and try to solve the problems as the server administrator. And finally, the Windows repair. Let's take a look on one of those or a couple of those tools. System information, also it's used to be, if you want to run it through the run command, it also can be referred as msinfo32.exe. It shows details about your computer hardware configuration and component. Also your software configuration. Include all the drivers that connected to or to configure for your hardware. It is originally included in Windows to assist the Microsoft support people to help their customer. That's specifically the end users. Now They are available for us as server technician and systems administrator to help our users in the productive environment. It is listing all of the hardware resources or the components connected to the server and the software environment. Even the print job is there, the network connections, and the running tasks. System information is one of the very first tools that you use as a server technician to solve server issues. With the event viewer, which is the second tool in row that you can use through the Microsoft Console, Microsoft Management Console, MMC. It's a snap-in that enables you to browse, manage event logs. It includes computer management and server managers. Also, you can reach that through the administrative tools, and that will be a standalone console. You can execute the event viewer or the event vwr.msc from the command prompt. Event viewer enables you to perform some tasks. View events from multiple events log. Save some useful event filters, such as what we are seeing here, the DNS client. And you can see the event ID, and you can see on that there is a warning. You can save that event. For example, if you have error here with the terminal service, you can see the error ID. You can find that the driver of the HP LaserJet 2100 PCLC is required for the printer to work. And also there is a suggestion from the event viewer to contact the administrator to install the driver before you log in again. That's one of the things that usually will be there in the event viewer of the server. You can have the computer name that's required for that. You have the logged time for that. And of course, you have the source is terminal services - printers. The level is error and means that needs your attention. You can also schedule tasks to run in response to an event. You can create and manage event subscription through the event viewer. Server secure boot process is now starting from Windows Server 2008. Every time you run your computer, it goes through the power on self-test, which is a boost. The secure boot enable the related feature to early launch the anti-malware system. So first thing, when you hit the power switch on your server, you find the firm boot component, which is the number 1, and that's the boost power on self-test, which check your hardware configuration and try to load the operating system. Now, loading the operating system must be secure. It will go to the load manager first and then try to load Windows and try to load the kernel of the operating system. While trying to load the kernel of the operating system, also the antivirus and the anti-malware will be initialized and try to protect the operating system before loading the actual operating system and the kernel. Then, once approved, and make sure that the boot process is clean, there is no malware there, there is no virus, nothing there, then the critical drivers will be loaded. After that, the Windows kernel can be removed and load the additional OS or the operating system and initialize those components for you finally to find the Windows login screen. System configuration, or also what we use to call or to run as Microsoft config.exe. From the run command you can type msconfig.exe, is another tool from Microsoft that can help you to identify what is the problem, if there is any problem is affecting your system's configuration. You can also take a look on the boot and the service that's running, the startup of your application, and what applications are there and what applications they are disabled and not allowed to start. If there is a problem and you are testing that problem, as we agreed as server technicians, you have to change one component at a time. If you are changing that through the system configuration, you can disable an application or a program that you suspect that it's causing an issue, and then test your solution. If that solution worked and successfully solved your problem, then go ahead and proceed with further steps to solve this issue and document your solution for your co-workers and other server technicians. In order to monitor your server, Microsoft has given us some tools. One of them is a performance monitor. Windows Performance Monitor is also a Microsoft Management Console snap-in. It provides tools to analyze the system performance from a single console. You can also monitor applications and hardware performance in the real time. It collects data and collects analysis for those data and present that graphically for you. For example, you can see the processing time, you can see the available megabytes for the hard disk drive, and how many pages per second that's written. Specify which data you want to collect first in your logs. Define those data for alerts and automatic actions. You can also generate reports and view past performance reports and data. Also, the Resource Monitor is a very powerful tool to understand how your system is acting and how your resources are consumed and used by the processes and services. For your server, you must always keep tracks of your hardware inventory and software inventory and how they are used via those resources via the system, how they are used via the system. For example, you can see the CPU, the disk, the network activity, and the memory. If you are a server technician, for example, and you can see lots of activities while the server is not serving so many people, you can suspect there is a virus or a malware there that is using the hard disk and the network through that and loading over and overloading your server. Let's talk about the high availability. High availability, most likely, we call them the 99% of the uptime. The high availability is design protocol that you will have to deal with as a server technician and systems administrator. It's associated by how many days or how many seconds even that the server will be down over the year. You can divide that number of the downtime over the uptime, and it will give you the availability percentage. For example, what we are seeing here, the 99%, that means that your server is down for almost 4 days. And the downtime per month is 7 hours, 0.2. The best availability for now, and that consider the standard time, is the 6 nines. That means the downtime per year is 31 second, 0.5, which means the downtime per month is 2 second, 0.59 seconds. Availability is very important when you are designing your solution or performing some of the design required by your clients. The downtime is affecting the productivity of the users. You have to keep in mind that while you are designing your solution and how you keep your server available and safe. The fault tolerance is a mean to keep your server up and running. Usually, to make the server more fault tolerant and protect your data and be able to serve your users, you have to keep some of the component up and running all the time. Hard disk drives, you have to use RAID arrays and also the hot spares. For the power supplies, you can use more than one power supply for each unit if it's allowed, and you can design your solution around this. Network cards, use redundant network cards. Always, and bear that in mind, always use UPS units when you are designing your solution. Electricity is a must. You have to configure your servers and you have to build up your solution around that. Even more, if it's a critical server, you can design your solution around an electric generator and UPS unit. Both of them are must if your server is a critical server. Server clustering, we can deal with that and know more through a more detailed course, but you will find a failover clustering and load balancing clustering used on the servers. A failover cluster used for the back-end server. such as the database server, like SQL Server, or mail server, like Exchange Server. A load balancing cluster is used for a front backup. Always back up your data. Always have a plan to back up your data. It is a must for any server technician to have a ready up backup. You are ready even before you start running your environment for the first time. You have a backup process and backup plan for your servers. Backup is a process to back up either the operating systems and the files of the operating systems and prevent the data loss of the operating system if the operating system has failed, so you can keep your server up and running most of the time. You can also use a data backup solutions that can back up the user data on the shared storage or the network storage, either SAN or NAS. That if something happened, if a virus came up and the antivirus cleaned the virus and just removed all the user data from there that were infected, you can have at least from the last backup, you can have a copy of those files and restore them for the user to continue work on them, and you can also manage that backup process through multiple backup solutions or from Windows backup solution. The backup plan, when we are talking about backup plan, you can have also a full backup plan, which means you are fully back up your system. You are backing up all the user data, and that is not a very economic solution. Another very famous two types of backup, an incremental backup and differential backup. If you want to know more about those, you can attend the Server Plus course or the MTA Server Fundamentals course from Microsoft. For now, I'm going to wrap up this webinar. I'm ready for your questions. We are having a third part of this webinar as an overview of what we are going to discuss after 2 weeks, and for the Server Plus certification and MTA Server Fundamental certification from Microsoft and CompTIA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Magdi. That was very informative and lots of information that you were able to give to all of our people today. And we also want to remind our attendees that we do have a special promotion for the recommended courses, which you can see up on your screen for this webinar. You can enroll yourself for the courses mentioned on your screen and add 15% to your savings. And keep in mind that this offer is valid until July 12th of 2017. We are going to launch a quick poll now, and we do hope that you will take the time to fill it out. It will just take a few minutes so we can see what other additional courses and training that you all may be interested in. And in addition, we do have a lot more informative webinars coming up, so please go to netcomlearning.com/webinars in order to register. And also don't forget to like and follow us on our social media pages to get the latest technology updates. You can refer to the GoToWebinar chat window for the links on our Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google+. And we want to thank all of you for joining us today. Again, thanks to Magdi, but we are just about out of time. If you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.